So many questions come to mind with a title like The Art of Teaching Mindfulness. You know, if you're a teacher, if there are teachers in the room, what's your role? What's the role to avoid? When you're teaching, what do you pay attention to? Is that different from being a student? Are there terrible errors to commit? What about the role of levity or presence in being a teacher? For us non-teachers, many of whom want to introduce partners or kids or friends to the practice, how do we do that well or do that very badly? And Jon's been a teacher. He's also taught many teachers and helped them become teachers. And he's also had good teachers of his own. And so I'm very excited and curious to hear from Jon and to learn about this. So thank you.
Thank you, Eric. And just to say, Eric is a profound force on this planet in his own right. And I didn't make up this title. I mean, they just kind of give me assignments, and I do them. So the first thing to say is that none of us are really capable of teaching mindfulness. Okay, so it's a very high bar, and I think it's important actually, and this goes against the grain of, hello there. This goes, I'm going to keep my back to you most of the time, but feel the broadcast coming through the body, as Richard Heckler said, you know, it's like, I feel you back there. Whatever we're calling this collective engagement, mindfulness or heartfulness or compassion or wisdom or an upgrade of wisdom, I'd take wisdom 1.0, you know, at this point on the planet. There's a paradox associated with it, and that's that it's infinitely available and close right now. And also simply the hardest work in the world for us human beings to get in touch with. Why? Because we're so in the habit of getting in our own way. And getting out of our own ways is a lot more non-trivial than it should be, in some sense. If you saw this beautiful film that Brother David Steindl-Rast did, on gratitude, it's like, it's not saying that there's anything more that you need to do. It's rather that we need to sort of get out of our own way and let the beauty that is us intersect with the beauty that is the entire world and how it manifests in the form of you and you and you and you and anybody who would come into your room as a teacher. Or maybe, and I use the word room really advisedly because in a sense, the universe is the room. Awareness is the room. And if you check, just attend to where the periphery or the boundary or the circumference of your own awareness is, I don't think you're going to find it. For all the talk of the body and, being embodied, one of the interesting properties of being human is that awareness is boundless. And the universe is also boundless. And we're a product not just of evolution, but of the evolution of the whole thing. So when it comes to teaching mindfulness, there's some fundamental questions, and I really appreciate, Eric, how you frame some of them. I'm not sure I'll touch on all of those different elements of it, but the spirit of it should really come through. And that is, first of all, really none of us are competent. And it's the hardest work in the world, at the same time that it's no problem at all. But we need to sort of go from a place where we're in our thinking and we're downloading a curriculum into other people that we've pre-thought and prefabricated and then doing it on people. And then it becomes a performance of a certain kind, which is how we do almost everything that we do, and for good reason. I mean, you don't get a driver's license without learning how to actually drive the car. But getting a driver's license doesn't immunize you from having accidents. You have to be there inside the car, and aware and not looking behind you. So we have to ask a deep question about motivation, because if we're choosing to do something that's actually the hardest work in the world for us ourselves to do, never mind invite someone else to do, we have to do it with a huge degree of humility and a huge degree of understanding that what we're really inviting is a kind of realization, a making real in our own moment-to-moment existence unfolding, that we're already okay, that we're already whole, which is the root meaning of the word health and healing and wholeness and even H-O-L-Y, holy. We're already complete. And probably none of us think that most of the time. We always think, well, he doesn't know me, it's like, and we start to catalog all the things that are wrong with us. And I like to say, you're perfect exactly as you are, including all the imperfections that your legalistic lawyer-like mind is going to announce that, well, he doesn't know me because, and here's the laundry list of things that I need to improve upon before I can really. So sometimes we have to really ask the motivation. What is your motivation if you want to teach mindfulness? How many of you do teach mindfulness in one way or another? Fantastic. The reason I'm saying this is not sort of to say, no, we can't do this, but to say, no, we can't do this because the bar is so high to actually live what it is that you're teaching, as opposed to having it come out of your head and out of your thinking mind. And no one can do that regulation for you, including your, whoever you learned it from. So that transmission energy, you're right, I studied with a lot of different people and I watched them very carefully. And some of the people that I studied with, they were criminals. And I learned more maybe from the way they abused the privilege of being a teacher and of being a Dharma teacher. And they were basically unethical or dishonest in one way or another. I learned probably more from them than I learned from the great ones, who live it, because you see what not to do. And you see the cost of the betrayal of yourself, basically, and the deep wisdom that comes to us because we didn't make it up. I mean, and mindfulness, as you know, it's like just part of the elemental inheritance of being human. But there is a long, very ancient and venerable tradition of practice within different traditions. Primarily, the sort of clearest articulation of it is in the Buddhist tradition. Okay. That said, it doesn't mean that any of you have to be Buddhists in order to teach mindfulness. And just to make it clear, I am not a Buddhist, okay, although people project onto me that I must be. But I prefer to simply identify, to the degree that I want to identify at all, with human. Okay? And not an ism and not a kind of, because they tend to create dualisms like us and them, Buddhists and the non-Buddhists, but Buddhism is about non-duality. So, and the Buddha, it could be argued, was himself not a Buddhist. He was an investigator. He was an experimentalist. He was a yogi. He was a lot of different things, and he brought all of these wisdom traditions together in a way that actually clarified it and then made the curriculum coextensive with life itself in the timeless moment we call now.